All right, next we're going to talk about graphing parallel and perpendicular lines. And so if we're graphing parallel lines, we have to remember that parallel lines all have the same slope. Parallel lines all have the same exact slope. And so when we're graphing them, they're going to tell us something like a line has, a line is this line here, 2x plus 3. And they want you to graph a parallel line that goes through those 2 points. And so what we need to realize here is that we have a slope that we can use. And so a line that is parallel to this line will have the same exact slope. So our new line will be m equals 2. And so what we're doing here is, if we have our slope for our new line and we have a point for the new line, then we can write that out in point slope form, and we can convert the point slope form to slope intercept form. And what I mean by that is we have the point slope y minus a value for y equals m times the quantity of x minus a value for x. We're going to move that to slope intercept, which is y equals mx. And so now that we're done with that, we're going to take that information. We have a slope and a point and put it in point slope form. 6 and 2 is our point, so that's y minus 2, 2 comes from here, equals our slope, 2, times the quantity of x minus your value for x, or x minus 6. So now, to continue writing this line, I'm going to distribute this 2 to the right-hand side, and so that's going to be y minus 2 equals 2x minus 12. Now add 2 to both sides. This cancels out. Y equals 2x minus 10. This line is our parallel line to the line they gave us at the beginning. 2x plus 3 is parallel to 2x minus 10. Why? Because they have the same slope. The only thing we needed to do was make sure that it goes through this point, and we ensured that by putting it in point slope form. And if we test it, if we put in 6 for x, 2 times 6 is 12. 12 minus 10 is 2. Let's try a line in standard form. So we can't see the slope in standard form. It's not used for that. But what we can do is convert that standard form to slope intercept form where we can see the slope. And so if we look at that, remember to put something in slope intercept form, all you're doing is solving for y. And so I subtract 5x from both sides, drop down my 2y, divide by 2. If I divide by 2 to a side with 2 terms, you divide by 2 on every single one of those terms. And so this cancels out, and y is going to be equal to negative 5/2 x plus 3. This is what we needed, because now we know that our parallel line will have a slope of a negative 5/2. Let's take this information and move it to another page. The point they wanted us to use was negative 2, 5. Our parallel slope was negative 5/2. Let's take a look at that and see if it's true. Negative 2, 5, parallel, negative 5/2. Cool. Let's go on to the next step. So now that we know the parallel slope and the point we need to go through, we can write the line that is parallel to the original line. And so y minus a value for y equals a negative 5/2, which is my slope, times the quantity of x minus a value for x, which means x minus a negative 2, which means x plus 2. And now I'm going to realize that all I have to do to put this in slope intercept form is multiply or distribute the negative 5/2 and then add 5 to both sides. And so I'm going to have y minus 5 equals a negative 5/2 x. And I'm going to multiply negative 5/2 times 2. Let's do that over here. Negative 5/2 times 2, or 2 over 1, is just a negative 5. And so I'm going to continue solving by adding 5 to both sides. Y equals a negative 5/2 x. This cancels out completely. This is the equation that goes through this point and is parallel to the original line. Let's try perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines have negative. What that means is when we have a slope for a perpendicular line, let's say our slope for the perpendicular line is 2/3. Our perpendicular slope, our slope for a line is 2/3. The perpendicular slope from that original slope would be the reciprocal of that and then the opposite sign. If it originally is a negative, let's try a -2, we would still take the reciprocal of 2, which is 1/2, and then the opposite sign of a negative, which is a positive. So that would be the perpendicular slope to this slope. Let's try a problem. Okay, they give us a slope, so I'm going to say my original slope is 3/2. So my perpendicular slope is going to be the reciprocal of that, is 2/3, and then the opposite sign, a -2/3. So now I have my slope. They tell me what point it needs to go through. I'm going to take that information and make a line. Alright, so I'm going to move this over here. And so I have my perpendicular slope in my line. Remember, if you have a slope and a point, use point slope form. So when I have y minus the -2, which is y plus 2, equals your slope, -2/3, times the quantity of x minus 5. Now, if I'm multiplying by the quantity of x minus 5, multiplying 2/3 by the quantity of x minus 5, I'm going to distribute that. So I'm going to have y plus 2, that's a y, equals -2/3 x, and that's going to be a positive, negative times a negative, 10/3. Now I need to subtract 2 from both sides. And so I'm essentially then going to have 10/3 minus 2. Well, remember, 2 is the same as 6/3. And so that's really going to be 4/3. And that's going to be a positive 4/3 because 10 is higher. And that's going to be my line that is perpendicular and goes through this point.